Ever thought about the potential treasures hidden in your kitchen waste? Yes, you heard it right. The discarded peels, the forgotten leftover salads, and the coffee grounds, all these can be magically transformed into a valuable resource through a simple yet powerful process called composting. Composting, in essence, is nature's way of recycling. It's a process where organic waste, think vegetable scraps, grass clippings, and leaves, are decomposed by microbes, turning into a rich, earthy material known as compost. This compost is a nutrient powerhouse for plants, leading to healthier, more robust growth. But why is composting considered a green solution? Well, it's a win-win situation for everyone involved. For starters, it significantly reduces the amount of waste that ends up in our landfills, which are already bursting at their seams. In the United States alone, it's estimated that more than 20% of landfill space is occupied by organic waste that could have been composted instead. Moreover, composting helps in combating climate change. When organic waste is dumped in landfills, it decomposes anaerobically, that is, without oxygen. This process releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas that's over 20 times more effective at trapping heat in our atmosphere than carbon dioxide. By composting, we're promoting aerobic decomposition, which produces negligible amounts of methane, hence reducing our carbon footprint. At this point, you might be wondering how composting works. Well, it's a fascinating process involving a host of microscopic creatures, including bacteria, fungi, and even tiny insects. These microorganisms break down the organic matter, releasing nutrients in a form that plants can easily absorb. But remember, as beautiful as this process sounds, it also comes with potential hazards if not done correctly. We'll touch upon these in the later sections of the video. So, are you ready to transform your kitchen waste into black gold and contribute to a healthier planet? Let's delve deeper into the world of composting and the magic it holds. Wondering how to turn your kitchen scraps into a rich, nutrient-filled soil? Well, let's walk through the fascinating process of composting that does exactly that. It all begins with the collection of kitchen waste. This includes your vegetable peels, fruit scraps, coffee grounds, and eggshells. These are often referred to as green waste, which provide the necessary nitrogen for the composting process. Next, we add what is known as brown waste. This can be anything from dried leaves, twigs, or even shredded newspaper. Brown waste provides carbon, which is essential for the decomposition process. Now, we're ready for the magic to begin. When the green and brown waste are combined in the right proportions, usually about a 50-50 mix, it creates the perfect environment for bacteria to thrive. These bacteria, primarily aerobic bacteria, are the unsung heroes of composting. They break down the organic material, converting it into a rich, fertile soil. But it's not all smooth sailing. The compost pile needs to be turned regularly, about once a week. This ensures that oxygen reaches all parts of the pile, crucial for the aerobic bacteria to do their job. Temperature is another key player in the composting game. As the bacteria work, they generate heat, which accelerates the decomposition process. But be careful, if the temperature gets too high, it can kill the bacteria and halt the process. Ideally, you want your compost pile to be warm to the touch, but not hot. Now, after several weeks to a few months, depending on the conditions, your kitchen scraps will have transformed into a dark, crumbly substance that smells like fresh earth. This is your compost, a nutrient-rich soil that plants absolutely love. Remember, composting is not just about reducing waste, but also about creating something new and valuable from what we often consider as useless. So the next time you're about to throw away those apple cores or coffee grounds, think again. So that's how your discarded apple cores and coffee grounds can give life to a whole new plant. Now, if composting is good, vermicomposting is even better. This process takes composting to a whole new level by employing the services of some of nature's most industrious workers, worms. Vermicomposting or worm composting is a method of turning organic waste into nutrient-rich soil using the help of worms. It's like having a mini recycling plant right in your backyard. The star of vermicomposting is the humble earthworm, specifically red wigglers and nightcrawlers. These wriggly little critters munch their way through your kitchen scraps, coffee grounds, and shredded paper, breaking down the materials into a form that plants can easily use. So how does this process work? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You start by setting up a bin, ideally one that's dark, ventilated, and has a lid to keep the worms in and predators out. This will be the worm's new home, so you'll want to make it as comfortable as possible. Fill the bin with bedding such as shredded newspaper or dried leaves and then add your worms. Next, you'll add your organic waste. But remember, not all waste is created equal. Worms love fruit and vegetable peelings, coffee grounds and tea bags, but they're not so keen on meat, dairy, or oily foods. Then, it's just a matter of waiting. The worms will get to work, eating their way through the waste and excreting what's known as worm castings. These castings are a form of compost that's rich in nutrients and beneficial bacteria, making it a fantastic soil conditioner. But what makes vermicomposting different from traditional composting? It's all about the speed and efficiency. While traditional composting can take several months, vermicomposting can produce results in as little as 2 weeks. Plus, the worms do most of the work for you, making it a more passive process. With vermicomposting, you're not only reducing your waste and creating nutrient-rich soil for your plants, you're also creating a habitat for worms and other beneficial organisms. So, with the help of a few wriggly friends, you can speed up the composting process and make it even more beneficial. So, we've seen how composting works, but why should you bother? Well, let's delve into the plethora of benefits composting brings to our environment, our pockets, and our gardens. Starting with the environment, composting is a superhero in the fight against waste. Every year, we generate billions of tons of waste, much of which ends up in landfills. Composting helps us reduce this waste by turning our kitchen scraps and yard waste into nutrient-rich compost. This means less garbage in our landfills and a smaller carbon footprint for all of us. Now let's talk money. Composting can actually save you a pretty penny. Buying commercial compost or synthetic fertilizers can be expensive, especially for avid gardeners. But with composting, you can create your own natural fertilizer for free. All you need is your kitchen scraps, some yard waste, and a little bit of time. Plus, composting can reduce your need for water, further lowering your gardening costs. But the benefits of composting don't stop there. It's also a boon for agriculture. Composting improves soil health by increasing its nutrient content and enhancing its structure. This leads to more fertile soil that not only grows healthier plants but also reduces soil erosion and helps retain water. This can be a game changer for farmers and gardeners alike. And let's not forget about the microscopic helpers in this process. The bacteria involved in composting, including actinobacteria, firmicutes, and proteobacteria, play a crucial role in breaking down organic matter. But remember, safety first. While composting is generally safe, it's important to avoid composting certain materials like meat or diseased plants, which can attract pests or spread diseases. So, we've seen how composting can help save the planet, save your money, and improve your soil. It's an elegant solution to multiple challenges we face today. With all these benefits, composting seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? Scene script. Ready to start composting at home? Here's what you need to know. First off, you need to know what you can compost. You can compost fruit and vegetable scraps, coffee grounds, tea bags, eggshells, yard waste, and non-glossy paper. Avoid composting meat, dairy, diseased plants, and pet waste, as these can attract pests or create unpleasant odors. Secondly, let's talk about the setup. You'll need a compost bin or pile. This can be as simple as a pile in your backyard or a specialized compost bin. The key is to have a space that's easy to turn and aerate. A pitchfork, shovel, or even a compost aerator can be helpful for this. Now, the magic of composting happens through the work of billions of microorganisms, predominantly bacteria. There are 3 types of bacteria that play vital roles: psychrophilic, mesophilic, and thermophilic bacteria. They each thrive at different temperatures and stages of the composting process. But beware, composting is not without potential hazards. Avoid overwatering your compost pile, as it can become anaerobic, which means it lacks oxygen. This can cause it to emit a foul smell and produce harmful gases. Also, ensure your compost pile doesn't become a breeding ground for pests. This can be prevented by not adding meat or dairy products and by turning your compost regularly. One more thing to remember is the balance between browns and greens. Browns are carbon-rich materials like leaves, straw, and paper, while greens are nitrogen-rich waste like vegetable scraps and coffee grounds. A good rule of thumb is to aim for a ratio of 3 parts browns to 1 part greens. Lastly, patience is key. Composting is a slow process. It can take anywhere from 2 months to 2 years for your compost pile to fully break down into nutrient-rich humus. But rest assured, it's worth the wait. With these tips, you're all set to start your composting journey. Remember, every bit of waste you compost is a step towards a healthier planet.